Hello, amazing one, and welcome to this episode of the Sassy CEO podcast. I am Paula Bailey, your host, and I am super excited in this episode to welcome the very amazing Vesna Hrsto onto the show. Vesna is a very experienced naturopath, a coach, a speaker, and a mind-body specialist, and she's the founder of the Bye Bye Burnout Program, which is a stress-free system to help you overcome burnout and feel like your best self. Amazing. She's run multiple naturopathic practices in Sydney, Australia, and worked with thousands and thousands of one-to-one clients. And she really is a leading expert in women and this whole concept of burnout. And so I'm super excited to have her on the show and talk to her about burnout and adrenal fatigue. I think this topic is so important because, let's face it, business is really a marathon. And like all athletes, we really need to be thinking about how we're looking after ourselves to really be in our best shape to manage the requirements of that marathon. So if you find yourself feeling exhausted, feeling tired, finding it hard to bounce back from the stress and the overwhelm and the busyness of being in business and running your own business, this is the episode for you. In this episode, I talk very frankly with Vesna around the difference between being really tired and just having to need a break to actually having something like adrenal fatigue where you need to actually get some help from a professional to help you with those symptoms. We look at some real expert secrets into managing your energy and being really proactive with your well-being. It's so important. You're the most important product in the business. And finally, some easy things that you can do to begin to shift your energy levels to the benefit of how you perform within your business. Vesa's also graciously lending us a beautiful gift, which is your energy reboot kit that she'll talk to you more about in the episode. So she talks a little bit more about how you can use that and some of the cool things that come with that kit. So make sure you're listening to the episode. And obviously, if you are feeling like you are in overwhelm or you need to have a better plan for how you're going to scale your business, always remember you can head over to sassyceo.com.au/gift and you can download the Sassy CEO strategic plan template to help you start to map out the plan for you and how you can scale your business and have some more freedom, as well as continuing to get all the amazing benefits of being in business. So head over there. But for now, let's jump straight into this conversation all around burnout and adrenal fatigue with Vesna. I hope you enjoy it. Hey Vez, thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. It's so nice to have you here. What an honor.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to get into this juicy topic.
Yes, we've already started. We actually started talking about this before we even started hitting record. I thought I better hit record because we were starting to get into some juicy stuff that we'd rather share with everyone, not just, our own private conversation as usual. So the topic today is as we said, we wanted to chat about this whole concept of there being a bit of would you say a joke? It's a bit of an in thing, this whole adrenal fatigue in women in business now. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I joke about it, with friends. It's like you haven't worked hard enough in your business if you don't have some degree of adrenal fatigue. It is almost like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, I've got a business, so I have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, because naturally we're going to work ourselves into the ground and, that's just going to be a natural byproduct of what we do, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of women don't realise, and men don't realise what it's costing them to have adrenal fatigue in their business, because a lot of the symptoms like fatigue and overwhelm and anxiety, that's going to prevent you from being productive. Like overwhelm, particularly, it can completely derail your workday. Your schedule, what you've got planned, I know for me that when I'm overwhelmed, I just won't work. And I know that seems like a bit of a luxury, but I think it's a luxury to be overwhelmed, then try to do your work, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to revisit stuff. You're coming from a place of a scrambled brain.
Well, I actually think they do say there's studies that actually prove, stress, which is really, overwhelm, it's like a byproduct of stress. It does actually decrease our IQ. Like there's actual studies that Yeah.
Well, it shuts down our prefrontal cortex. So it basically makes us dumb.
Yep. Yeah. Stress and hungry, right? You would know.
And yeah. I mean,
I remember a mentor once saying it makes you dumb and put on weight. He didn't quite say it so nicely, but yeah.
Because when you're stressed, your brain needs a lot more glucose, and your body needs glucose for the fight or flight response. And so either you eat more, so whether you're going to go for more sugary, refined carbohydrates and binge on chocolate or pasta or something like that, or your body's going to break down muscle tissue to convert that into glucose. So either way, that's going to happen, which means that you will tend to store more body fat.
Got it. Okay, well, I actually want to get down to the bottom of this, because I thought about the questions that I wanted to ask you, even just from my own point of view as a woman in business, because then I hope that that's useful then for everyone listening. And I guess like the thing that I always think about, like there are obviously times where you are really working very hard and you feel like you are extra tired. I'm in the middle of doing this 75 hard challenge where I'm working out 2 times a day. So I definitely have also been very conscious of making sure I'm eating enough. It's been great because it's making me, you'd love this, I'm actually drinking water. I've got to drink a gallon of water every day. And I didn't realize how dehydrated I was before I did this challenge. Like the first couple of weeks of doing this, I thought, I actually said to my husband, I feel like someone's spiked my drink with something. I feel amazing. And it's just pure water that was actually doing that for me. But ultimately, like when you're sitting there day to day, maybe you're overwhelmed and you're feeling like I feel extra tired. Like, how do we actually know? Like, what's the difference between, okay, you're a bit tired and you need to take a break, and, no, this could be like a little bit ominous now and maybe you need to seek some extra support?
Yeah, it's a good question. So often with that kind of fatigue, it's not like it's a fatigue that's not relieved by sleep. It's a fatigue that's not relieved by a weekend. It's a persistent fatigue. And so maybe you go away, you have a couple of days off, you come back, you get back to work, you're tired. Or you've had a really solid week of sleep and you're still tired. And it's often accompanied with anxiety or overwhelm or low moods or depression, brain fog, weight gain. So I normally say, like, out of those symptoms, if you've got the fatigue with anxiety or depression or low moods or brain fog, weight gain, insomnia, irritability, then there is some degree of, whether you call it adrenal fatigue or the side effects of stress on the body, the impact of that.
Right. Okay, so those are the sorts of things that you have to be aware of if you're sort of taking the time, which a lot of women are just really bad at. I know.
Yeah.
I work with those types of women. We tend to. I mean, it's like that type of personality, isn't it? We were just saying it's. I think it's, maybe it's the things that we were modeled. It's the value system. The harder you work, the more it's going to be worth it, or it's not going to mean anything unless you're absolutely KO'd by the end of the day. I know I'm working really hard to help women and myself break those paradigms, because that's actually not true. But in the meantime, really making sure our health is taken care of while we move through these phases of consciousness.
Yeah, completely. Like I remember, like I went through burnout when I was like 25, nice and early. And it was because
overachiever.
Beat me on that. No. But I mean, it's really common in millennials today, right? Because it's the same thing. Like for me, I started my first naturopathic clinic when I was 22, and I was really driven. I had very high expectations. I wanted it to work. Obviously, I'm proving myself. And, it's like a lot of your sense of self and worth is wrapped up in your business. And so therefore you drive yourself into the ground. And that's certainly what happened to me.
So do you find that there's actual types of personality, like, I don't love labeling people, but obviously there's different styles of personalities, and you mentioned they're really driven, high achieving. I mean, I really identify with that. That's me to a T as well. Very hard on myself. I mean, in Sassy CEO land, we sort of talk about the control queen, because she's a queen, like she's helped you get where you are. Yeah. And she's been an important part of your, she's an important archetype within your success, but left unleash, letting her unleash, and it can start to be complete chaos.
Yeah. Like I think you can be driven, like from what I've seen over the years. I mean, that took a long time of awareness to see that it was, and it still shows up for me, right? It still pops up in my business in the way that I work, but I have more awareness of it today. But you can be driven, but it's the attachment that you have to it. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I need this to work, because if it doesn't, then what? So then you keep driving yourself to that point, and you don't realize that there's something that you've wrapped yourself up in, that there's some kind of sense of self that's in that drivenness, you know, because it can be exciting to drive towards a new project or a new goal in your business, but when it's costing you, like when it's causing you unhappiness and depression and anxiety, there's something in that.
Yeah, it leads us to that bigger question again, right, which you and I have talked about a few times. I think we did it on one of your interviews where recently we talked about the happiness, the end point of happiness, you know, and I know we're wanting to do that a lot more in 2020 across the board in Sassy CEO Collective, on having a measurement of happiness, because if you measure something, you're actually focusing on it. So it's like the H factor. Because ultimately, why are we doing all of this? Like, why did we set out to run our own businesses? I mean, yes, there's a level of leaving legacy and having an impact, and those things are so important. But if you're running yourself into the ground and you're miserable day to day, then I think some bigger questions need to be asked.
Definitely. And I think, you know, that's one of the things that women don't take the time for. I think, you know, when I look at how women get to adrenal fatigue, is that they're just going and going and going and going. They don't stop and just check in with themselves. Like, where am I at? You know, like, I think sometimes, you know, like I kind of say to my women, you know, we don't have always time to do an hour meditation and then do some exercise and then cook a really healthy breakfast or a meal. And, you know, that's a big chunk of the day already gone, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's just 2 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the morning, you sit down with a cup of tea and you just sit with yourself and just check in with yourself. Like, just like go in, ask yourself a question. Am I okay? What's going on with me? Where am I at? And I think a lot of women don't do that. And that's when they just keep steamrolling in one direction. And they
it's interesting because we lose ourselves. And I mean, I know, having recently even just gone into a new journey of motherhood as well, like, you know, roll that into everything else. And it's so easy to lose yourself. And something that I've learnt bigger than ever. I mean, I've had this lesson before, as you said, you keep getting the lessons and it's like, oh yeah, that one again. But like, even doing the 75 hard, like when I saw that challenge, and this is my version, I was like, do I want to do a marathon again? Because I used to run marathons. Challenge. And you know what? I actually still remember you saying to me, that's really hard on your body, PB. Like, just and I'm like, just hit the big 4-0. Maybe I'm just going to be a bit easier on my body and we'll walk and lift some weights. Because I'd like my skin to stay up here. But I really wanted the challenge, but it also has forced me to start putting myself first again. And as women, I mean, especially this whole motherhood, it's not just being a mother. I think just as women, we have this whole guilt complex about putting ourselves first. We put our clients first, so our family or our friends, and it's just like this thing that we do. And it's almost like whatever's left over will be the bit for us, and then there's never anything left over. So, you know, we can buy into this story that, we don't really have time. But like, you're actually the most important product here. And I've realized that I had to, like, it was an absolute necessity for me to create that space in my schedule, no matter how much I bought into this concept of I don't have time. And it's so funny because the more I do it, the more I realize I've actually got plenty of time. It's so bizarre. And maybe because I'm functioning more efficiently, or that just putting yourself first is a big change. So that I think there's a lot to be said there in just changing your mindset around what are you telling yourself every day? I'm only allowed to have this 5 minutes of calm space, or
I mean, really, you've got to I look at time as just where are your priorities? As simple as that. And like, a lot of mums will say, I don't have time, but then they spend so much time they don't even realize they're spending so much time on social media.
True. That's so true.
They're constantly
go and check out your screen time. Like, it's really scary when you actually can do that on your phone. I don't know the settings that I know, like there's apps that can do it, but I think your phone in general, if you go into settings, you can actually you'd be shocked how much screen time you spend to like kind of numb yourself out. I get it.
So that's the time. There is time there. It's just going, it's time where you're not aware of what you're doing. So you're losing it in social media, you're getting distracted by things. And then there's things that are a priority for you. So maybe you haven't made self-care or time for yourself a priority, and everything else is, looking after everybody else. Because, I think sometimes it's easier to look after everybody else and not have to do the work on yourself, because there's resistance, there's sabotage, there's all that stuff comes up for you.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's just easier to tell people what to do.
Just nice and deflect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just get that going.
On that note, that's another question I did want to ask you, like in your very wide experience, because you're such an experienced naturopath, is there particular behaviors or habits or things that you see women in business do or not do? I mean, you mentioned obviously not making time and space for self-care, but things that they're doing or not doing that are increasing their risk of running into longer term chronic problems like adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, definitely. So waking up in the morning, jumping on the computer straight away, if they work from home, or getting a coffee, not having anything to eat, rushing out the door if they're going to an office, and not eating for a couple of hours, missing meals during the day, maybe not eating much and then binge eating at night, or having,
What about the wine?
Wine,
the prop.
Wine either at the computer working late until the night, or a lot of women, say to me, I just like to sit on the couch with a glass of wine in front of the TV and just, spend time with myself. And that's not spending time with yourself. That's totally numbing yourself out, totally disconnecting from yourself. But stuff like that, yeah. So I end up going to bed late, they end up getting that second wind. They get more energy at night time, and so they stay up later, and then they go to bed, and then they wake up tired, and they don't eat again. It starts this cycle. So the body's just always in a stress response, as it's either trying to lift your blood sugar level up because you haven't eaten, it's trying to detoxify all the alcohol, you're missing your meals, you're stressed from your day, all of that.
So actually on that note then, what are your thoughts on diet? We'll go there and just be really gentle about, I'm not talking about like hard ass, like tell me the diet or anything. It's just eating later at night. Is that really sort of like, contributing to you waking up feeling more exhausted? Is there a window? I mean, I know there's copious amounts of studies. I sub-majored in nutrition. I'm fascinated by all the different studies about fasting, and I think there's a breadth of information, so that's probably a completely different podcast. But I mean, just little things into, let's just say, even is there foods or is there things that we can do with the way that we're thinking about eating that can help us have more energy and conquer our day, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think, fasting is great, but it's not the be all and end all. It's not a prescription for everybody. So I find that women with adrenal fatigue is that they need to have the regular meals, because of this issue with the blood glucose level. So there's a lot of research now coming out with hypoglycemia and dips in blood glucose levels, and it's linked to anxiety and aggression and criminality and obsessive behaviors and all this kind of stuff. So with adrenal fatigue, it's harder for women to regulate their blood glucose levels. So it is important that they have more regular meals. And if they're waking up during the night, which is really common for adrenal fatigue, so they wake up randomly at like 2, 3, 4 a.m., can't get back to sleep, then it's important to make sure that sugar levels are, regular through the night. And so normally I have women, I get them to add carbohydrates to their meal at night. And if they do wake up during the night, I get them to have a snack like an hour before bed, like just like a handful of nuts or something like that will help to sustain their blood glucose levels through the night. And that way, when they have the carbs and they have that, they'll wake up with more energy, because as we're sleeping, our body goes into self-repair mode. If we don't have enough carbohydrates, it will basically break down our muscle to give us the carbs that we need to do all the self-repair work, but we'll end up waking up tired.
So the low carb diet is probably not a good idea if you're feeling super fatigued, and such a difference. So I have to actually note, I mean, after years and years of like, oh, no carbs after a certain, I remember like no carbs after lunch and everything. And I'm actually incorporating just really healthy carbohydrate into my diet. And I find that I finish my dinner and I'm actually full. Whereas I always used to look for something after that.
Yeah, body. I mean, you can't beat your body's biochemistry. You can use willpower to a certain degree, but your body's biochemistry will win at the end of the day. Like, it needs what it needs.
Biology over belief, totally. Yeah,
it really is. Like, so yeah, a lot of women that join my program, would have done like the ketogenic, the fasting, and have really struggled with it because it's just where they're at this particular point with adrenal fatigue, their body cannot respond to that. It's not happy on that, you know. And for some people who aren't in adrenal fatigue, they're fine with it, and that's great. But it's, you know, you need to nourish the body for where it's at. And when we're in a stress response constantly, we have side effects from that, such as adrenal fatigue and anxiety and overwhelm and depression, etc. Then we need to nourish the body. We need to nourish, you know, the biochemical pathways in the body, things to, you know, repair the gut and detoxify the liver and all of that kind of stuff. We need good nutrition, and we need a lot of it.
It just makes such sense. I mean, it's what I talk all day long in Sassy CEO. You know, we talk about business strategy and growing our business, and it can be so focused on like, what's the next strategy? You know, and for a lot of women, we're just forgetting how important taking care of yourself. It just almost seems like it's like, oh, that's not the thing that's going to make a difference, you know. But if you think about you're trying to scale a business, you know, if you're coming from a place of anxiety, like I even talk to my clients about you feeling, you know, constantly on edge, like biologically, your brain constantly feels like it's not safe. I had a client turn up to a coaching call, and it was really obvious that she was, you know, really quite stressed, and she hadn't eaten. Like, you know, she probably hadn't even had anything to drink. And what I was trying to say to her is like, even just from a biological level, it's like you're still back in the cave, like your brain and your body is wired to survive. And when we're doing those things to ourselves, your body is constantly, and energetically, we're talking about energetic fields, we're in this place of scarcity. That's your frequency. You're on frequency. Like if you think about the radio station you're playing on that day, it's like scarcity. So nothing good. The decisions you make about, you know, what media you'll buy today, or how you're going to deal with that team member who's underperforming, or should you hire that next person, you know, all those things, like very difficult to make really solid, sound decisions for the future of your investment, because your business is an investment when you, the leader, is underperforming internally, biologically, mentally. And there's just such simple ways to actually help yourself through the stresses of running a business. That's kind of like a no-brainer, right?
Well, when you're stressed, you go into the lizard brain. And so you're off, the prefrontal cortex is offline. And that's our CEO kind of executive that helps us make decisions and gives us rational thinking and gives us vision and all of that kind of stuff. So that goes offline as soon as we're stressed. And it's interesting. So the research now is showing that a little bit of sugar will bring us back into the prefrontal cortex, because it will shut down that lizard brain. It'll, you know, appease the lizard brain, the sugar.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, I was on this.
So eating will help this situation.
Yeah, well,
so it doesn't mean going. We don't mean going and have a teaspoon of sugar.
Well, you can. I mean, you know, this researcher is saying that, well, not a teaspoon of sugar, but she was saying she gives what she calls lizard treats, which is lizard brain treats, which is dry fruits and nuts.
That sounds like treats I'd give Henry.
Yeah, you're right. To settle down the lizard brain, and then that way that people can be back online in their prefrontal cortex and be rational and be present. You know, so it just goes to show. Like, I'm not saying I would never prescribe sugar, but it just goes to show how important it is to have the regular meals and to have the carbohydrates, particularly when you're stressed, because you can't be operating a business properly when you're starving and your brain is starving. Do you know, like, there's just, you know, there's a lot of research coming out for the low blood glucose levels, and how much it affects just our perception and our thinking. You know, I remember last year and beginning of this year, I studied a coaching program in Europe, and one of the doctors in there, he was a psychologist, and he said that, you know, if we don't have mental clarity, we have to be a business genius to make things work in our business. You know, because that's our gift, like our mind and our insight and our level of awareness and our creativity. That's our gift to our business. And if we don't have that, then yeah, we do probably have to be a business genius to make business work.
And to be fair, you know, this is with respect for everyone, very few of us are genuinely business geniuses, I'd say. You know, I mean, you and I chatted about this because we're both into it. I mean, there is also studies directly relating to companies success to, you know, the CEO's level of intuition and mental, you know, intuition, all that mental clarity. I mean, there's so much interesting stuff in that field coming out. You know, neurosciences, what makes us tap into intuition, what is intuition, but all those things, you know, I just feel like it's like a tuning a fine athlete. You know, we're forgetting like business isn't this big sprint. You know, you go out and you run a 100-meter sprint and it's over. Business is literally a marathon, you know, and we need to be priming ourselves to be in the best condition to actually be able to weather the inevitable, which is that there's going to be shit days and there's going to be really great days, and there's going to be days where you're pushed to make really hard decisions or that you have to find new solutions. And, you know, clarity and creativity require fuel.
And no anxiety, no overwhelm, right? Because I just think that is what derails people and derails your day or your week or your months. You know, like if you're going to be in business, it's going to be hard times, and it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be months, it could be a year, you know, where you really kind of have to hustle for a year. You want to be calm and present in order to be making the best decisions. Otherwise, you have the potential of making that problem last a hell of a lot longer.
Totally. I mean, this is why, you know, we all plan and, you know, set forecasts and so that there is you know, there's something, a roadmap. You know, I say you go out into the day-to-day of a quarter in business and like there's a bushfire over there and there's a shiny object over there. But if, you know, the whole point of having the plan and having the roadmap is knowing, okay, no, but this is what we said we were working towards, and we can stay calm, and that bushfire will burn down eventually, you know, and I can stay calm.
Do you know what's interesting? Like, just a really good example of intuition and how much it's important for business is that just recently, like in the last few months, probably this year, that I've had, you know, glitches with one of my webinars and more so the system. And, you know, I got advice from a lot of people saying, no, it's this, it's that, it's this. And I was like, I don't think it is. It doesn't sound right. And so I tried all the things that I was told to do.
You do all the things.
I did all the things, but I was still in the back of my mind, I don't think that's it. I don't think you're right. And it turns out they weren't. And I, you know, intuitively knew that there was just a technical glitch.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole problem. So it's interesting, you know, and I think if I had been, you know, caught up in the whole anxiety, overwhelm and stuff of it, I would have scrapped everything and just started again, but I didn't, you know. I mean, I added things on and tweaked things, which didn't make a difference until I fixed the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the problem was until I knew, right?
Yeah.
But intuitively, I did know.
But I think, you know, that's a testament to your actual baseline level of functioning in the human body, you know, your ability to stay calm and, you know, move through even difficult, because I just think business is just one big loop of finding solutions.
Yeah.
If you don't like finding solutions, please don't be in business, because ultimately that's what you're being asked to do every day is like, okay, what's the solution to this current problem and solve it. And, you know, that's what I love about business. But in order to do that, we have to have a clear mind, have our bodies functioning well. I've got so many questions and I could sit here all day.
I know.
For you, sleep, because obviously that's a really big one. And this could be a whole different topic as well. But, you know, do you have maybe a couple of tips to help? Because I think that is actually a really big one. So many women are in that habit loop of numbing out at night on the phone or in front of the TV with their glass of wine and going to bed way too late. And then, you know, I'm not a morning person or whatever it is. Like any, you know, couple of tips for helping to have a better quality sleep?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to get yourself into bed earlier. So for a lot of women, this is the thing that I get the most resistance on. Like, women in my group,
ask the question.
They become like children when I tell them to go to bed early. It's like, I don't want to go to bed early. This is my time. And like, I get it, right? But it is costing you because you can't repair your hormones unless you sleep, right? I always say sleep is like a magic pill. If I could give it to everyone, it would heal most things, right? Because it's when our body is in complete self-repair mode is while we're sleeping. So the more hours we have, the more our body can repair our hormones, our immune system, anything and everything is repaired while we're sleeping. To repair adrenal fatigue, we need to sleep. And so the first thing is getting into bed earlier. I get my women to go to sleep at 9:30, get into bed at 9:30.
Wow.
So there's obviously a lot of
pushback.
There's a lot of pushback on that. Anyway, we get there eventually.
Have fun with that, Bez.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
Yeah.
So get into bed by 9:30 and, you know, wind down before bed. So don't go, on the computer, be working and doing all this stuff, and then go lay in bed and go, why can't I sleep? So you need to like even set an alarm or a reminder on your phone, like, 45 minutes before, okay, it's time to wind down for sleep. So, get off the devices, get off the screens, just potter around.
I say the same thing, because obviously I've even had people say, oh no, I'm fine to be on the computer and then go straight to sleep. And I think you're in denial if you think, first of all, that blue light and your brain, you're thinking about what you can't, you need to have a transition period.
Yeah.
To actually sleep.
100%. So you need to be relaxed. You don't need, the blue light is obviously like daylight for your brain. So it just thinks it's like the middle of the day. So you need to be off that. And, you could do, I don't know how much time you have. For some women, they like to have a bath, to kind of the hot water and things to help them relax, have a cup of tea. But then if you're waking up in the middle of the night, then I would recommend to have like an hour before bed, just a small snack, like just a small handful of nuts, like almonds or walnuts or pecans, something like that, to help you to sleep right through the night.
So do you think the waking up is down to the body feeling hungry, or can it be
the stress response? So quite often, if you've had a very stressful day, you'll wake up during the night. It's kind of this rebound effect of cortisol. So the other thing is to carve out like 15 minutes during the day where you kind of just go for a walk, get away from your computer, get away from work. So even on your phone, like keep that away, and just allow your body to decompress will actually give you a better sleep at night.
Love it.
Stress hormones can come down.
And then I love that you kind of like leading me along. I love this, that you mentioned the magic pill of sleep. And it just seems like in the day and age that we live in, with the explosion of e-com businesses and, the accessibility of buying something off Insta, like there seems to be supplements popping up left, right, and center, like this special tea, this Luna latte over here. And, there's not that we're talking about any particular product in specifically, but there's just a lot. There's teas and supplements and stuff. We're being presented with a lot. Is there anything that you feel is, worthwhile looking into, or is it just actually better to work with someone who knows what they're doing rather than just buying something willy-nilly off the internet?
Yeah, this is the thing. I did a video and a blog post on this recently. Why we stay exhausted is because we're looking at adrenal fatigue like it's just the adrenals. So we just take adrenal supplements.
Yeah.
It's a systemic problem. So it's actually called HPA axis dysfunction now, because it accurately represents what's going on. So it's more of a issue starts here and then it streams down, So we need to look at gut health. We need to look at liver detoxification. We need to look at reducing cortisol. So we do that through diet and lifestyle and habits. Yes, we do supplements, but I don't do supplements initially. I do like things like, and I'll give your listeners the energy reboot kit. So it goes through kind of these 5 principles that is, it's the combination that has a powerful effect. And, we get a lot of feedback from this of how amazing the transformation is over these very simple things, which is, one is having breakfast within 20 minutes of waking. Okay, really important for adrenal fatiguers, because you don't want your blood glucose levels to drop if you're fasting too long between sleep and waking up, because then the adrenals will kick in again. Okay. And so breakfast within 20 minutes of waking will help to give you more energy during the day, prevent the anxiety, the brain fog, and it will keep your body burning body fat. And so I normally recommend a smoothie, which I call the M20, which is a combination of proteins and healthy fats and
It's delicious. I've had it. It's delicious.
It's good. It's really
you need to get on it.
So that's in the energy reboot kit. I don't recommend fasting for adrenal fatiguers. You can do that later when you're repaired, but not now. And I don't recommend coffee on an empty stomach, because it's just going to, again, drive the adrenals, and anything that's going to drive more of the fight or flight response or cortisol is going to make you more anxious, more jittery, less focused, more in a place to store body fat, impact the thyroid gland, which will impact your metabolism and body weight, and just cause your energy levels to be up and down all day and craving, and just not a nice person to be around.
Yeah. Not the nicest leader to be around. No.
Just having the M20, not having any coffee in the morning. If you need to have the coffee, have it after breakfast is better.
Got it.
And then I recommend, having some carbohydrates with dinner. You can also have it with lunch, but I recommend about a quarter to a half a cup of carbohydrates. Things like your starchy veg, even some brown rice, and your beans like chickpeas, lentils, things like that. Quarter to a half a cup with your meal, so that way your adrenals are nourished, you have a good sleep, you wake up with energy.
Such great advice. Thanks, Fez. I mean, I think it's really important. I mean, like even in business, when you have a particular, very specialized problem, you don't just go, I mean, we do when we first start out, we'll start throwing different things and we all do that. I just think in this day and age, your health is such an important part. Without it, you cannot function. And I think it's so important, even though we can access all these different things. Like for me, my value and my health, especially since becoming Bailey's mum, because I want to make sure that I'm around and having fun with him and that I'm well, there's this like new level of like, if something doesn't feel right, get some expert advice, invest in yourself, and actually don't just, go, even like something like your course is just such a beautiful resource to have access to someone who actually understands what's going on as a starting point. And then, if you feel like you need higher level support from that, you can move there, but we're not, using Dr. Google to decide what's going to happen, because it's just such a dangerous place. I think it's great that we've got access to so much information, but unless you're actually trained and you can interpret all the symptoms and you know what's going on, I say just actually talk to someone who knows what's going on in that particular area.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, when like in the program that I have, the Bye Bye Burnout, so we cover, repairing the hormones, repairing the gut, doing the liver repair and detoxification, because they're the three key systems that kind of crash when we have adrenal fatigue. So it's not just the adrenals. And then we know with poor gut health that it leads to anxiety and depression. It's linked to it, right? The gut health inflames the brain because of this connection. And so it's very much a holistic problem. It's not just, take some ginsengs or take some rhodiola or take some ashwagandha. All of those are great.
Take your magnesium at night.
Take your magnesium, your vitamin C, and your B vitamins. They're all great. But it's just like, it's kind of like I always say, like it's like if you've got a leaky roof, it's instead of fixing the leak in the roof, you just stick a bucket there. And that's what you're doing by taking all the supplements. I did that in the beginning. I will confess, when I was burnt out, I was taking a hell of a lot of supplements. And it actually pushed me further into adrenal fatigue because they were giving me a buzz and I was using that buzz to keep going. But it's not going to heal the body and the underlying problem.
So good. Such great advice. Oh, it's been so good. I feel like we could just like talk. There's so many like side conversations here that I think are so pertinent for the conversation for women in business. We'll have to get you back there so we can talk about even just some of those other, the gut health and all that juicy stuff that I know years ago you and I did one on actually getting overweight, and I've been seeing it pop up more and more in my feed. Women talking about, I just saw another lady talking about, I'm not getting anywhere, all I'm getting is extra weight on my bum. And so I think I'm going to just open with all the listeners and say that I will be getting Bez back to talk about that one, because it doesn't need to be like that again. There's a subset of beliefs that we need to get fat, be stressed, do all this thing in order to wear that badge of honor that we have a business, and business doesn't need to be like that. That's what I want to emphasize. So I am so grateful for you coming and just explaining that so we can understand ourselves and our health a lot more and take some steps towards feeling calm and, turning up as the best versions of ourselves physically, which is such an important thing. So super grateful for that. Thank you. And the free gift, the Energy Reboot kit, which is amazing, guys. You really need to get your hands on it. Where can everyone find that? I'll also pop it in the show notes, but if you just want to tell anyone who's listening now.
Yep. So if you go to vesnahrsto.com/energy reboot.
And I really recommend, guys, go follow theirs. She does some of the most amazing lives. If this is something that you intuitively think, I really need to know more about this, like arm yourself. Knowledge is power. Arm yourself with education. Just start there. It doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars to have the knowledge. It's there. It's available. We live in the most amazing world where you can follow amazing people like Fez and get access to her lives, which is so insightful and very, very helpful if you're a woman who's running her business, because I want you to be here in 50 years from now still running your business and feeling happy. So get on it and start looking after yourselves. It's really important.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fez. Thank you so much. We hope to have you back soon. Bye. Wow. What an amazing info-filled show that was with Vesna Hrsto. She really is just a wealth of wisdom, and I'm super grateful to have her on the show. I definitely will be asking her to return so that we can talk a little bit more about gut health and all some other juicy things that I really wanted to jump into. So I promise that those episodes are coming. I think some of the key takeaways for me in that were just really understanding that it is actually really quite simple, some of the things that we can be doing to really help ourselves perform and to feel good in business and in life, and that we have access to things that we could be doing from now without needing to buy into expensive supplements or all those other things that often get marketed to us to help us boost our energy all the time. That there's other things that we could be doing to really tap into our body's innate natural abilities to actually perform really well. I hope you really enjoyed the show and that you got a lot out of it, and that you learnt just how important you are and just how important it is for you to take some time for yourself, and that there is time. If you find yourself saying that story over and over again, that there's not enough time, I really, really encourage you to question that story, because it really doesn't serve you. And in fact, my goal for you is for you to be able to leave a legacy, not only via your business and the impact that you have on your customers and your clients, but through, other ways that you generate wealth through the business, and that you use that to impact your community and your family. And it's really important that you're here and that you're able to do that. And so that's why I'm sharing information like this with you, so that you can use these tools to really make sure that you're showing up as your best version, to have the best shot of being around for a long time, and also making sure that you're here for a good time. Okay, that's a wrap for another amazing episode. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I can't wait to catch you again on another episode of the Sassy CEO podcast. Again, don't forget, you can grab yourself a copy of the Sassy CEO strategic plan template at sassyceo.com.au/gift, so that you can start mapping out your own plan to Sassy CEO success. But for now, I'll say goodbye, and I'll catch you very, very soon.